Hello everyone. Kenton County Railfan Productions here. I've been waiting for a long time to do this video, but now I'm getting this out of my chest. This video is gonna be on a certain railfan. It's about Nicholas Clemens, who most of you guys know as Richmond City Railfan. He is a railfanner from Richmond, Virginia, and he is the creator of the trains series called Rails of Highland Valley. He might sound like a chill person to you, but actually, he's an asshole, and an idiot. First things first, I'm gonna go over on how I met Nicholas. In 2015, he subscribed to my channel. But however, I didn't know Nicholas that well when he first subscribed to my channel. In 2016, I've been first watching Dave and Larry Gets Grounded, and then, after I enjoyed them, I then started to know Nicholas. He seemed like an average user. But then later on, I joined the Trains series to see what it was like. At first, I really liked 8 Marbles, and even had an obsession on Lilium, which I finally don't now. When I first came across Rails of Highland Valley, I never voiced acted in that series until late 2017. Because I was very stupid back in that year and made a ton of mistakes that were wrong. But thank God I've learned from them. Now let's go over the Dave and Larry bullshit. At first, when I started to like Nicholas, I thought Dave and Larry are fictional. But as soon as I cut ties with Nicholas, I started to believe the story of this Dave and Larry bullshit. As for Dave, he is named after David Allen. And Larry is named after Larry R. Wendell Jr. In 2014, a user I will not say had disagreements with David Allen and Larry R. Wendell Jr. But Nicholas took it too literal by started a Grounded series out of them. I do have a little piece of evidence about this, from his old Go Animate videos.
We need to warn you that Dave Allen is angry at you for making a comedy out of him and he wants to beat you up. 9.
Mr. and Mrs. Wendell. Larry stole the snacks from the store and he stole our snacks as well.
You see? That is a little piece of evidence that Dave and Larry are named after David Allen and Larry R. Wendell Jr. But Nicholas kinda censored the Wendell part, but it kinda sounded like he said Wendell. And besides, it kinda looked like the Larry in real life, and he cannot deny it. Also in his old Go Animate videos he took down, I remember, when he made a video of Dave getting plastic surgery, and his plastic surgery looked like Dave in real life. Now thanks to Nicholas starting the Dave and Larry Gets Grounded series, a ton of people are starting to do those videos as well. Not to mention that he had them as antagonists in his Trains series. Now let's go over on his Trains series Rails of Highland Valley. When I used to be stupid and mean, he had me as an antagonist as Norfolk Southern 9206. But Nicholas was the reason why I had a hate base in 2017. He pretty much dragged me into some conflicts. Like the conflict with Matt Coffin, YTTP users, Surhandle Productions Marie, Sunset Limited, which that channel is dead. The conflict with Ian, and especially made the conflict with Kentucky Railway Productions worse. But in October 2017, I kinda stopped hating on the users I had conflicts with. But except Marie. And then he let me voice in Rails of Highland Valley as myself. He made me Norfolk Southern-99661. Me, as a crew member, never felt the same in early 2019. Nicholas changed Lily and Marie into a Norfolk Southern-8 and a Norfolk Southern-9 respectively, right before Season 4 ended. They used to be Amtrak P42 DCs 190 and 191. But then Nicholas made 190 a hidden antagonist named Anna. Because he was too stubborn. And also because of his unhealthy obsession with Lily, which we will get to that later on in this rant. Not to mention, Nicholas rushes people to do their lines while they're busy. Like seriously, you know not everyone has time to do your lines. It's not they don't want to, it's because they can't. People have a life, you know. The Rails of Highland Valley series also chases people out of the Trains community. People in there don't know how to act right, and they are foamers. Rails of Highland Valley is just cringe, underwhelming, and excruciatingly boring. You see, Nicholas seems to overhype the episodes. Because the chase scenes are too long, stories are extremely boring, no character development, unnecessary characters, every episode always has a scene or two that have nothing to do with the story, the antagonists don't even feel like antagonists anymore, every episode after 2019 and 2020 has to have a military reference, because Nicholas is obsessed with the military, and the most super cringe part about Rails of Highland Valley is characters named after their voice actors have girlfriends that are locomotives, and they are named after fictional characters. For an example, he is dating Lily in the series. But other than that, the Rails of Highland Valley series is just super duper boring. The episodes are never worth it and the specials are ridiculous. Not to mention that Rails of Highland Valley is also a cyberbullying series. Do you remember Jordan the SD60? Jordan was actually named after Wright County Railfan. So technically, Nicholas cyberbullied Wright County Railfan. Nicholas did antagonize people who were trying to help him, such as Matt Coffin, CNSD75I, and Stuart Squeers. He secretly told his minions that these antagonists are named after those people who he had conflicts with, but denied it when he told the friends of the people who he had conflicts with. Nicholas constantly bitches about the suspension of disbelief, yet the series had a ton of that. Like he makes Lily use drill attacks, and also made himself throw a football at a rail cam in one short. He putted hands and arms on engines. That doesn't make any sense. None of the plots in that god-awful train series make sense. And he just has to turn every random cartoon video game character into a damn train. He did that to Mario, Luigi, Leopold Slick, which is the angry German kid, and of course Lily the anim bitch. And the Plants vs. Zombies special, he replaced plants with engines, and turned the zombies into fucking trains. Very ridiculous, right? The antagonists are now those random background characters who only get 2 lines an episode, then they screw up one small thing. The episode Run to Revenge was the only time the antagonists felt like antagonists. They planned something to take over Highland Valley, and it seemed as if it succeeded. You antagonizing people who call you out is cyberbullying. That's why I never want to start a trains series. Because not only do I not have trains, but I don't want to end up like Nicholas did. Now let's get on talking about Nicholas' behavior. I realized that his behavior isn't acceptable. He should not have been notorious for being a huge control freak on train series. Like he claims he's the owner of all of the train series in existence. He's totally butthurt because of someone he doesn't like is joining Houston Rail Productions train series called Greater Folkestone Rail Adventures. Like seriously, you claiming you own something, when you don't makes you sound like a Karen. But not just that, some people already know this user Atlantic Coast Railfaner. He's had problems with Nicholas recently. He used to run a train series called Southeast Rail Stories a couple years ago. But he had to cancel it because of Nicholas bitching over everything he is doing in his series. Nicholas got mad at him for making Lily and Marie as Norfolk Southern GP 38-2 and of CSX GP 40-2 respectively. But yet it was his suggestion. Nicholas being a huge freak over the stupidest things caused others to cancel their train series. And Nicholas' only pathetic excuse was his weak points and fevers. For an example, if you add him as a 4-axle EMD unit, he will complain and force you to change him to a 6-axle unit. Another example I wanna give out is, he will get mad if you make him a Western unit. Because he hates the West for a shitty reason. He also got mad at Atlantic Coast Railfaner for removing Lily's ability to drill, like seriously. He wants to make his series realistic, and you are scolding him for realism? Seriously, you are a man-child after all. The other train series such as Tales of Springfield Railroad and Greater Folkestone Rail Adventures, and so many others have fallen into his control freak habits. He always have to find something to bitch about, even if it's extremely minor. One little thing in the background like has nothing to do with the story, and Nicholas will cry and bitch about it. Fixing it will be the only way to make him shut the hell up. If any of you guys have to deal with that, don't listen to what Nicholas says. It's your series, your rules. He'll also say that, if you are a Western rail fan, you have to run a Western series, because he thinks Western rail fans know nothing of the East. He also takes too much pride in the East and constantly falls into stereotypes of the West. Like he claims the West is too hot, and claims is vulgar. Because he hates BNSF. He hates BNSF, because Ben the Train Kid sees them on rail cams. Most of you guys might have noticed, or may not have noticed. Nicholas made a potential death threat to Atlantic Coast Railfanner for liking Trains and Aviation of North Georgia's car on Facebook. Trains and Aviation of North Georgia got a Ford Taurus, and Atlantic Coast Railfanner thought it looked nice, so he gave the picture a like. But then Nicholas started to scold him over it. And he also said, and let Caleb face the firing squad for fraternizing with the enemy. In case, if anyone doesn't know, that basically means he wants to shoot Caleb. Wanting to shoot Caleb over liking a picture? That is not a reason to kill anyone, and you could go to jail for that. And he didn't just give him a death threat, he also gave him an assault threat. He wants to punch and kick him for liking the picture on Facebook. You know, that you could go to jail for that as well. Because beating someone up over an opinion is not a good choice at all. And he's also infamous for claiming things are ruined, because his friends liked them. For an example, he claimed that the people he doesn't like ruined the game Splatoon, because they love the game. Another example is that Atlantic Coast Railfanner is a huge fan of the Beatles. But Nicholas then comes up and starts bashing him for being obsessed with the Beatles, yet he has an obsession with Lily. Atlantic Coast Railfanner had a friend who's a big metal fan, and Nicholas claimed he ruined metal all, because he wants to cover a metal song, and also, because he has a guitar, while Nicholas doesn't. I guess it's proving that Nicholas is jealous. And he got mad at Atlantic Coast Railfanner, because he has a ton of guitars. From what I heard, Atlantic Coast Railfanner said that on a video chat, Nicholas wanted to break his guitars, and he said fuck you to him. If Nicholas wants to break my stuff, I would say, break my stuff, and I'll break your bones. Atlantic Coast Railfanner should have said that to Nicholas. Not to mention, Nicholas has severely bad hatred for the franchise Pokemon. It's because his own friends talked about it, but yet he also talked about it. But now on his Hangouts profile picture, it's a Pokemon character. In 2019, his hatred for Pokemon gotten so bad that he claimed it's a military offense. Seriously, there might be some military people who like Pokemon. Should point out he also claims the Pokemon enemies are military veterans. He does the same thing with Thomas the Tank Engine. He seriously was a big fan of Thomas in the past, but now he hates it because of Ben the Train Kid, or Daniel, which is BNSF 8010. Which we'll talk about Daniel later on in this rant. He also treats Thomas as a military offense, yet he doesn't realize that most of us got into trains because of Thomas. He also assumes Pokemon and Thomas are the worst franchise ever, all because of their fandoms. Like come on, there will be bad fandoms everywhere. Even Super Mario doesn't have the perfect fandom, not even Splatoon has a good fandom either. There's always gonna be that bad side of a fandom. Yet Nicholas claims, as if Thomas and Pokemon have the worst fandoms or like the only fandoms in the world that are bad. Another thing about his Pokemon hatred is that he claimed that Pokemon characters aren't from a series, and claims them as his own individual characters. And he also claims they are soldiers from the military. It sounds like he is asking for a lawsuit from Nintendo and Creatures Inc. He also gave death threats to people who like Pokemon. If you tell Nicholas you like Pokemon, he'll say that you need to go to Camp Lejeune. He thinks sending people to the military will cure their Pokemon like. He also wished someone would get ran over by a tank, then die and go to hell. Just for liking Pokemon? That's 2 death threats he gave to people over opinions. Also, I want to talk about what Nicholas did around this summer. What happened this summer is Nicholas got super pissed at the user called Virginia Railfan Productions, because he copyright claimed one of the Rails of Highland Valley episodes. But he had a reason to, because he stole one of his clips of Norfolk and Western 611 without his permission. That breaks the Creative Commons laws. Not to mention that Nicholas falsely accused Virginia Railfan Productions of running the Richmond City Railfan Sucks account. Another thing I want to talk about is, when you get into a conflict with Nicholas, he will go on your channel and bomb dislikes with his alts, which we will get on with his alts shortly. But anyways, he thinks bombing dislikes will ruin our reputation. But he's ruining his own reputation. Alright, now let's get on with Nicholas' alt accounts. Recently, he's been using alt accounts to attack us whenever we call out on Nicholas. For an example, about last month, he made an alt called Don't Judge a Book by Its Cover, and he's been attacking us with it. He even commented on one of my videos calling me an overused insult. I can tell that account is Nicholas, because Atlantic Coast Railfanner told him to not judge a book by its cover, because he always assumes things he never played are ruined. And he stole his old profile picture, so that is clear evidence that it was him all along. He's also been attacking Virginia Railfan Productions with his alt accounts. Like he used the Sonny Prude account and commented on of Nicholas videos saying that he's a sore loser for copywriting his videos. But he deleted one of his alts named Don't Judge a Book by Its Cover so he can avoid getting called out. It's already too late, because I'm calling him out right now. Also, I need to mention another alt he has. Many of you guys might know the user KennywoodGirl1993, which is now Lily Noyama on YouTube. But I need to inform you guys that is Nicholas alt. Because he's trying to shove off Lily as a real person, which it doesn't work that way, it only makes him a weeaboo. And I need to point out that Noyama is Marie's Japanese name, not girl last name. Oh, I also need to point out about another alt Nicholas has. It's called Lil in the Coffee Girl, and I need to point out some facts on what this alt does. It has poorly grammar on it, and I remember one point, when Google Plus was around, is Nicholas used that Lil im alt account to attack the real Larry R. Wendell Jr. So therefore, Nick does have beef with the real Dave and Larry, and not the Dave YTTP and Larry YTTP accounts. Now let's get on with Nicholas fangirls. His little buddy Daniel, which is BNSF 8010, loves to follow in Nick's ways and makes shit worse. Daniel's love for Nicholas has gotten so bad that he acts just like him now. For an example, he brought up my past, which is what Nick does all the time. He even tried to make me believe that Dave and Larry are not named after David Allen and Larry R. Wendell Jr. Not to mention that his videos are extremely cringe. He even uses the overused Dahlia insult. He recently made a grounded video out of Dave. But he doesn't realize that he's harassing David Allen, since Dave from Go Animate or Beyond is named after him. And he also made an exposing video out of Atlantic Coast Railfanner, all because he cut ties with Nicholas. And Daniel also claims that Lily is a real person when there is no proof of it. The user Carolina Fulmer did a commentary on that god-awful video of Daniel's. But Daniel took down the video just to save trouble. Well, it's already too late, since Carolina Fulmer did a commentary on it. So people can hear how much an idiot Daniel is. Not to mention that he forces the user called the UP Railfan to voice in his series, after he told him no a million times. And according to the UP Railfan, Daniel makes alt accounts and says racist stuff about Mexican people. Which I don't really know what his alts are, but I believe him on that part. And I need to say that Daniel is a hypocrite. How? Because he told Caleb that what Nicholas' wrongdoing was in the past, yet he brought up my past. Also, for number 5 in the screenshot, I have something to say about it. Lily and Lilim can't find out about Nicholas' antics. Fictional characters don't have opinions. He also asked Caleb that how Rails of Highland Valley is excruciatingly boring. And he says he understands that Nicholas went too far with the death threat. Daniel, if you understand, then you would have cut ties with him by now. Not just stick up for him. And not to mention, Daniel also claims that Pokemon disrespects the military, even Thomas and friends. That's another fact that he acts like Nicholas. He usually hates stuff cause Nicholas hates it. And he even made a Microsoft Sam video without even using the Microsoft Sam voice. That's all I had to say about Daniel. Now let's talk about Nicholas' obsession on Lily. Lily is from the game 8 Marbles, and Nicholas ships himself to her and claims that she's his girlfriend, when she is not. You can see that Nicholas has a big and healthy obsession with her, adds her in every Rails of Highland Valley episode, makes people add her in their series, and he even made her as his profile picture on almost all of his social media accounts, such as YouTube, Dailymotion, although I don't have a Dailymotion account, and especially Instagram. But except DeviantArt. Instead, it's a military tank. Lily came from the manga Takayama Iko, so did Marie. I also need to point out that Nicholas hates Takayama Iko because he hates the way Lily and Marie are designed. According to an 8 Marbles Wikipedia, it says Lily is 12 years old. Because of the way Nicholas talks about Lily, it makes him a pedophile. Because he's 23 years old. He comes in and claims that Lily is 25 years old, and that she's a straight girl. Well, according to the manga, Lily is a lesbian. And it says her date is Marie. Filthy Frank is right. You sexualizing animated 13-year-old girls doesn't make you Japanese, it only makes you a borderline pedophile. Let's now get on with Nicholas' bad friendship with people. Back a couple years ago, the user South Florida Aviation Productions got bashed for liking airplanes. That's when I saw Nicholas' true colors and cut ties with him. He treats his friends like they're his military slaves, or poorly. Like, if you mention something he likes, he'll say that you ruined it. When his friends have a voice chat with him, he won't bother talking to them. Not to mention that Nicholas doesn't respect anyone's privacy. He goes on Facebook, he says stuff to someone he hates family members. He puts angry and laughing emojis. Like seriously, their families have nothing to do with your problems, so leave them out of it. And I wanna show you that the user Carolina Fulmer putted a link to a Pokemon character named Ash Ketchum, but then Nicholas commented, that's good, because Ash is very unfit for the military, but no Pokemon okay? And after that, he then treated him like shit and acts like he's a military sergeant. When you have a voice chat with Nicholas, he will interrupt you and force you to talk about other stuff he likes, nothing about what you like. A few years ago, Atlantic Coast Rail Thunder and Ben the Train Kid were talking about Charlie Brown, and then he blamed both of them for thinking Charlie Brown is cancer. He will force you to stop watching stuff he hates. Cause, if you don't, he'll treat you like a military slave, and especially send threats as well. I would also like to point out that Nicholas is a huge filmer. For example, he hates AC-44C6Ms, because it took away the top hat-9s. And he claims Santa Fe is an overrated fallen flag railroad and brags about Burlington Northern being superior just because of Ben the Train Kid. He always antagonizes trains that made cool stuff trail. For example, he antagonized David Allen as CSX 5265 because it made HLCX 8137 trail on a coke train. Another example is he added Norfolk Southern 7297 as King Candy from Wreck-It Ralph as an antagonist. Because he caught it leading a PRLX SD70 Ace and a Norfolk Southern SD60. In his more recent videos, you can see him constantly bitching about the C6Ms and SD70 CCs, and wishes them to be standard cabs in his descriptions. He claims that Norfolk Southern doesn't have variety because of the rebuilds. Which Norfolk Southern might have a little variety. If you talk about the C6Ms, he will come in and say, ooh, C6M. Nicholas got butthurt and bashed opinions on Conrail. Some friends of Atlantic Coast Railfanners finded Conrail overrated, and Nicholas got mad and started hating them over opinions. Conrail is his favorite fallen flags, but he doesn't have the right to bash people's opinions on it. And I need to point out a funny fact about Nicholas. When he hears a Nathan P3 horn, he'll think it's for in power. But then it turns out to just be Norfolk Southern. Haha, that was funny. I will also like to point out that Nicholas whines over the fact that we are born in the wrong generation, and wishes he was in the 1950s. Probably because of military shit happening in those years. And because of the railroads using PSR and rebuilds. So you have it here. You can now see that Nicholas is not a good person to associate with. He's too insecure about everything, and he's just a moron who cares about nothing but himself. I'm never associating with this guy ever again. Because he is evidently bad at keeping promises, and most likely will never show a single sign of him improving. Like he says he'll stop doing something, but the next day, he goes back to doing the same thing again. For example, after you call him out, Nicholas will say that he's changed. But the next day, he'll revert back to the way he was. He's also notorious for assuming things as rumors, even if you give proof of it being real. He'll claim it's fake cause he's too stubborn. And he uses his own friends as scapegoats for his own actions. To anyone who likes Richmond City Railfan, I advise you don't trust him at all because of the shit he's doing. And Nicholas, if you are watching this, I'm done with you for good. I want nothing to do with you anymore. I don't want you dragging me into any conflicts. I don't want you brainwashing me and getting me a ton of hate, and I don't wanna be near you again. Also, dislike bomb my content with your alt accounts all you want, I do not give a fuck. Thanks for watching this rant. Kenton County Railfan Productions signing off. Goodbye.